think it is such a good book that people take for granted that of course it's a favorite, is The Great Gatsby. I still think that's just an always brilliant, always stellar piece of work. So that's what you can know about me for the moment. In fact, I like it so much, I actually provided a Danish colleague who's writing a textbook on English for Danish students with a video clip of me talking about The Great Gatsby. All right, so let me go to the question then. So the difference between a course and class is really nothing. They're interchangeable terms. A course is probably the more formal term for actually acknowledging that it's an academic credit towards your transcript and towards your graduation requirements. A class is a little more of a casual term and may refer more broadly to an academic experience that you're participating in that might fit into different categories of size, seminars or lectures or discussions. But really they're the same. Really, essentially they're the same. They're the same thing. So don't be distracted by somebody using the term course instead of class or vice versa. It still references the same unit of instruction.
Thank you, Sarah. Sashel, are we ready for the next question? All right, this is the difference between a minor and a certificate. Do these terms mean the same thing?
We all were fast on that one. All right, let's see the results. Everyone's saying no.
All right, so I'm going to turn to my colleague, Dean Ben Cook, to introduce himself and talk about minors and certificates.
Okay, so I'm Ben Cook. I'm assistant or academic dean in Pratt School of Engineering, along with Lupita, and Carmen Rawls is our third academic dean in Pratt. And I've been at Duke since fall of 2000. I came from grad school in math. And then after finishing my PhD in math, I worked in the Academic Resource Center for a number of years before I moved over to Pratt, I think 2.5 years ago, although it seems like a lot longer. And my hometown is Washington, D.C. I grew up in DC, although now I kind of consider my hometown Durham, since I've been here longer than I was in DC. My favorite sport is tennis. I like to play tennis. So minor and certificate. So they are different. Everyone was correct. They are different things. Minor typically is about 5 classes, and a certificate is typically about 7 classes and or experiences. There are certificates in departments that don't have majors. So a lot of departments that there's not a major available, but they or interdisciplinary area might have a certificate. In Pratt, a very common certificate for students to do is the Innovation and Entrepreneurship Certificate, INE. There's a Markets and Management Studies certificate that's also very popular, MMS. There's a Global Development Certificate. There's kind of certificates that are more connected to Pratt departments and certificates that are more connected to Trinity departments. A minor tends to be in a department that also has a major. If you want to get a minor in an area that you don't have time to take 10 courses for a major or more, a minor can give you some feel for the topic, and maybe if you just have specific classes you want to take but not the kind of major required classes, a minor is a good option. But yes, they are different things. That's my answer.
Thank you so much. And there are a handful of minors that we don't offer matching majors for. And I think as you're searching for classes, minors and certificates are a great place to go to sort of discover things that you might not find in that alphabetical listing of classes. So thank you, Dean Cook. All right, I think we're ready for our next poll.
This is a good one. Advisor Academic Dean. What do y'all think? All right, the results are in.
All right, looks like we've got a lot of no's to this one, and my colleague Dean Rachel Murphy is going to introduce herself and talk about advisors and deans.
Hey there, I am Rachel Murphy. I'm an academic dean in Trinity. My hometown is Lake Oswego, Oregon, which I almost never admit in a public setting. My doctorate's in political science. I think I've been at Duke for maybe 6, 7, maybe 8 years. I don't know. I think that Dean Russell's been here for maybe a year longer than I have. So maybe I've been here for 7. 2 favorite things, my kayak and my garden. So are deans and academic deans and advisors the same thing? Well, I think they're getting the hang of this, you guys. They are not the same thing. Dean Pers kind of gave this away earlier when she was introducing us and told you what deans do. So I'm not gonna go over all those details, but I will say that we're with you from start to finish. We're with you for all 4 years. And a good way to think about it as an overview in terms of academic deans is anything that touches your transcript, your dean is responsible for. So if you, some other examples, if you're interested in having an underload or maybe going part-time your final semester here, if you want to take a course at another institution and have it transfer back here, we have our tentacles on those types of things. Do you ever want to declare a course as satisfactory, unsatisfactory? Those type of kind of process and procedure things are the things that you'd come to your academic dean for, as well as emergency things and advising if that's something that you're needing. And the college advisor, we have a lot of different advisors at Duke. I'm sure you're going to hear more about it explicitly. But your general college advisor is the person that's going to meet with you, help you register each semester. You're with them for 2 to 3 semesters, whereas with your academic deans, again, unless we leave or some other thing happens, we're with you the entire 4 years that you're here. Other types of advisors too, right? There's the pre-professional advisors, if you're pre-health, pre-law. Do you want me to talk about directors of academic engagement? Is that something that you want? That's not really necessarily tied. Yes, okay, that was a thumbs up. I had to move my chat box to see that thumbs up. Directors of academic engagement, I can't recommend them highly enough. There's two different reasons why you might want to go see a director of academic engagement. There's 2 different types of them. There's those that specialize in the global civic opportunities and those that specialize in the different disciplinary opportunities. So if you want to know, is there a lab on campus that researches, a question that's really interesting to me, you would go see a disciplinary DAE. If you want to figure out, if you think you want to study abroad, but you don't know where you might want to go or really why you might want to go, you'd want to talk to a global civic DAE. So my takeaway point here is that there isn't going to be just one person. You're not going to have necessarily one person. We are all your people. We are all here to make sure you get what you need and have the best experience at Duke.
Thank you, Dean Murphy. And I wanted her to talk about the DAEs because both Dean Russell and Dean Murphy did that before they became academic deans. And the DAEs sometimes know things that nobody else on campus knows just because they're well connected with departments and can really help guide students through in-depth advising. And
Alyssa,
I was going to add one more thing. They're available to Trinity and Pratt students as well. Go ahead, Dean Murphy.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I just wanted to add one more thing. You might interact with your academic deans in other ways too, because we all have portfolios. We all do something different besides just monitor your progress towards graduation. So like I'm in charge of program 2. So if anybody's interested in crafting their own plan of study, that would be a program that I oversee. Dean Russell is in charge of money. She's in charge of money for undergraduate research. Dean Pers does the Cardea Fellows. So every dean also has their has other ways that you may interact with them.
Thank you. All right, I think we're ready for the next poll. Prerequisite versus co-requisite. Is this the same thing? All right, it looks like we got results in and preponderance of answers leaning toward no. And I'm going to introduce Dean McMillan from Pratt or ask her to introduce herself and then answer this question for you.
Hi, everyone. So my name is Lupita McMillan, and I am one of the academic deans in Pratt, as Ben Cook mentioned earlier. There's 3 of us. And specifically, if there are any Pratt students on the call here, I am the academic dean for last names P through Z. So I hope to meet you soon. I have been at Duke for 15 years now. It'll be 15 years this October. And I'll tell you, time really flies by. I've never been anywhere for 15 years before, so this is a great feeling. My hometown is Sterling, Illinois. It's a small little town about 2 hours west of Chicago. So any Midwesterners, yay. I always love meeting Midwesterners because I always talk about the cold and the snow and how great it is here still, even though I've been here for 15 years now. My favorite, I would say, my favorite movies, anything Marvel, anything Avenger is my absolute favorite. I probably watch them a lot, particularly in this pandemic times. It's always a good thing to have on in the background, which I typically find myself stopping to watch, even though I think it's a good thing for background. I end up getting distracted still, having watched them so many times. So the difference, most of you were correct, almost all of you are correct, that prerequisite and co-requisite are not the same thing. A prerequisite is going to be a foundational knowledge, usually within a course, or AP credit, it could be, or any type of international placement credit. That is an expectation, a foundational expectation that you have before you tackle the next class. So that is a prerequisite. So for instance, multivariable calculus, math 212, unless you have AP credit or IPC credit or have taken math 111 and 112, those are all the prerequisites to be able to take math 212 multivariable calculus. So that's the prerequisite. A co-requisite is a course that doesn't have to be taken at the same time, but if you haven't taken that course yet, then you can take it at the same time as a specific course. So specifically in engineering, I'll use that example. Biology 201 can be a prerequisite or a co-requisite of our BME 244 class. So if a student isn't able to take biology before they take BME 244, they can take them at the same time, but they can't take BME 244 unless they've either taken biology or are taking it alongside with BME 244. So that's the difference between the prereq and the co-req. Sometimes students ask, well, can I still take it if I don't have a prereq? And that's usually not a good idea because there's a reason it's a prereq, that there's foundational knowledge that you are expected to know going into the class, probably because you're building off of that knowledge. So you would likely be at a disadvantage in the class if you try to tackle a class that you didn't have the prereq to. So don't take it personal if you ask and you get turned down, because that's a pretty common answer for that to happen.
Thank you. And you all have registered, so you probably also found there were some differences. Sometimes prereqs are enforced and other times they're not, but it's still not a good idea if the prereq isn't enforced to go ahead and enroll and ignore that. So, and we've got a question in the chat, Lupita. I wonder if you can see that, and it's about
So the major co-requisites, for example, neuroscience. So I'm not familiar with neuroscience. So I'm happy for any, sorry if you hear my phone in the background. Anyone can jump in on that. I would think a co-requisite is a co-requisite, no matter if it's a departmental, if it's a major co-req, if it's a a gen ed requirement that a co-rec is the same. It can be taken at the same time as the other class, or it can be taken before. Would you say that's right, Dean Purse?
Sometimes not. Sometimes the things that are listed as co-recs and majors will wind up being prereqs for individual classes. But sometimes we get the question, do I have to take all these co-recs, say, before I declare my major? And that is not required. But this is where talking for majors, contacting the director of undergraduate studies in that major can be really helpful in decoding, is this thing called a co-rec for the major also a prereq for some courses, or what do you recommend as a starting place in the major? So yeah, there's a little variation there. Okay, I think we're, thanks for the question and the answer. I think we're ready for the next poll. Are liberal arts and Trinity requirements the same thing? Yes or no?
Polarizing response thus far.
So this was probably a trickier question, and it's one that I'm going to answer. So the liberal arts go back to the earliest democracies, and were this collection of things that informed people that were voting in democracies needed to know in order to be good citizens. And so it has nothing to do with the liberal conservative spectrum that we see today. And what defines the liberal arts has changed significantly over time. And in today's colleges and universities, is defined in different ways. But the link to the Trinity requirements is these requirements that you have to complete along with a major on your way to a degree in Trinity College. Our attempt to define within a flexible system what a liberally educated student would need to accomplish. So while they're not completely the same, I think all of y'all are correct in that there is this relationship where we aspire to have well-rounded, well-educated students in arts and sciences through our curriculum. In contrast, Pratt, you will be earning a professional degree. So you may have noticed that you get 5 social sciences and humanities electives because you are needing to build technical proficiencies in this area of engineering. So an engineering degree and an arts and science degree just inherently are different. And hopefully I haven't revealed any bias or preference one way or another. It really is up to you as an individual, what kind of degree is best for you. And they come with their pros and cons. And again, it's really about personal preference. And again, remember, while especially in Trinity, where your degree requirements aren't quite as determined in advance for you, you've got an academic dean in the background making sure that you're making adequate progress. When you declare your major, a big piece of that is not only understanding your major requirements, but also understanding those degree requirements. And I'm just going to check in with Lupita and Ben. When your students declare their major, are they doing a similar exercise where they're making a plan that reflects the courses they need to complete their engineering degree and major requirements?
So we don't require a formal plan like Trinity does with the what if report and the long range plan, but each of the departmental handbooks has templates of the degree and what should be accomplished each semester. We typically will meet with students to do some academic planning if there's other things students want to do in terms of study abroad or research or a 4+1 program, or maybe they want to take a semester off. We will do academic planning then. Otherwise, we have the tools online for a student to be able to follow along and make sure that you are completing the requirements one by one. And then, of course, we're there to help and guide along the way if there's any questions.
Terrific, thank you. All right, I think, Sashel, are you going to guide us to the next step with the breakout rooms?
Yep. So students, for this next piece, we're going to put you in breakout rooms with the academic deans. It will be 1 dean per room. I think we have 4 rooms. And then think about how you want to use this time, right? Think about things we've been talking about and the skills that we've been kind of encouraging you to use, or being engaged, asking questions. Right? These are folks who are, again, they're here for you. They're here for you for 4 years. They know so much about how to succeed here academically at Duke. So really kind of take advantage of this opportunity to connect and come in knowing before you even hit campus, like, hey, I know 1 dean pretty well and 1 dean knows me. So take advantage of this time. All right. All right, with that, we're going to whisk you away.
Okay, fun for all of us.
Oh, awesome. Good. Okay, I think we're all here. Right, Dean Purse, you want to close this out?
Sure. I just really want to express gratitude to Rubenstein Scholars for having us here and letting us introduce ourselves to the students. This kind of thing for academic deans is always just really terrific and fun to get out and meet you and help normalize, come into our offices and reaching out to us. Don't let that dean title scare you. When I became a dean, my colleagues in biology said, oh, you're going to become one of those nano deans. So if that helps you find us approachable, that we are not the dean of the college or some of the higher level leadership in here. We're really people who like working with students and are here to help you get the best out of your Duke education, remind you why you're here. Oh, I am so sorry for calling Rubenstein and not Life. Apologies. Thank you for correcting me. But really glad to have this opportunity and connect with you. And the students in my breakout group were really already wise and I think ready to hit the ground running. And I suspect the same is true of all the other students here today. And don't hesitate to reach out if there's anything we can do. And yeah, I really can't wait to see what you do at Duke.
So thank you so much. And so in turn, I'd like to thank the deans for being here. And so students, so you see the deans, they are approachable people, they're knowledgeable people, and they're people who really care about you and are here to support you and know that you are excellent and you're brilliant and that you have all the tools and all the things that you need to do to succeed. And they're just here to be kind of extra enhancement and helping you in that. And then again, as we've been talking about before, should you ever run into any kind of challenge or trouble, don't hesitate, go to them. Right? They can offer so much in terms of wisdom, but also real kind of concrete knowledge about the resources and the policies that'll help you stay in and navigate and do well here at Duke. So take advantage of that. And so we look forward to in a few weeks having you here physically on campus and able to connect with the dean in person too. We're on Zoom if we're doing that as well. All right. Okay, so with that, I'll say goodbye and thank you again to our deans.
Bye, thank you.
Oh, so good you all got to meet them. All right, so we are going to go into a break now. And then when you come back, we have actually some time for a good long break. We won't be back until 2:10. But our final session is what's up next. And it's a really important session because we have, I think, 9 faculty members who are coming. And all you're going to do in that session is they're going to introduce themselves. And then I'm going to put you in breakout rooms and we're going to do essentially a virtual mixer where you're going to talk to a faculty member for a while and then we'll rotate and you'll talk to another one, you'll rotate and you'll talk to another one. And you'll do this in groups. So it's extra not scary because you will have another kind of set of students with you. So not a lot of pressure on yourself, but you get to meet real live Duke faculty, people who are coming here to study with and research with and connect with. And they are very interested and eager to meet you. I mean, think about it. They're actually on summer vacation right now. They don't have to do this, but they want to do it. They want to be here. So take advantage of it. All right. Yay. So yeah, let's take a nice long break. We have time for more than 15 minutes, about 16 minutes. See you back at 2:10.